You're listening to our podcast, Unguarded, a conversation about relationships and life in every season. And I'm Beck, and this is my incredible husband.
I'm Joe. It's good to be here. Thank you for inviting me onto your couch and
Of
into your
course.
life.
Anytime.
So, what should we talk about today?
Okay, well, I had some thoughts because
You had some thoughts, what every
I
husband
did.
loves to hear.
Because we had a little fight yesterday,
A little tiff.
a little tiff, and it doesn't always happen. It doesn't happen a lot, but maybe we had it pressure. There was a pressure cooker. We had a fight, and it was perfect timing because we were doing this podcast. So
It's true. Isn't it good to have fights before you're supposed to talk to people about
how
how great your relationship is and how you can help
marriage is.
there?
Yeah, it's so true.
But
Has
we're in
made-
it. It says open and honest, right?
Yeah.
Conversation. So here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah. So you want to talk about our fight?
Okay. So you sent me a text yesterday morning.
I did. Yeah.
I was
Doesn't-
folding laundry at the time. I was, feeling swamped by the amount of laundry I had to do. And I get a text message from you saying, babe, I'm feeling like I'm losing every morning. Getting the kids to school, they're getting their late. I don't like this. I feel like I'm taking an L every morning. Could I propose that you don't go to the gym at 6 a.m. or
Do you
go
want
as
to get
often?
into specifics or
Or go as often. I think
Or
it
just-
matters.
it matters? Okay.
Yeah. I think someone listening will be like, oh, I've had that type of text
Okay.
before.
Just want to make sure we don't get lost in the details a little bit, but
And I was heated. I went from 0 to 100 and I probably wasn't thinking straight. And I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, I'm furious. And then I changed it to edit to I'm frustrated.
oh, that was the hilarious part of the new iPhone updates. Yeah, because you could edit and change text now. But if the person sees the initial one, then you've got both. So yeah, it was
Yeah.
like, I totally forgot about that. Yeah, because your first text was "I'm furious,"
Yeah.
and then it was hilarious. Then I responded "furious?" The question mark, because it felt like 0 to 100.
Yeah, that feels abrupt.
And then as I sent the text like "furious" with a question mark, I was surprised by that. And then I looked up and it said "frustrated." And I was like, oh, that was the edit. Okay, never mind.
I mean,
Can't take
you
it back.
edited yours too, so I don't know what you edited it to, but you definitely edited it.
Yeah, I don't remember. Maybe there's something to that, the editing
Yeah.
of conflict. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
No, I think it helps because furious was a little bit too harsh. I was a little emotional.
Sure.
But yeah, I could feel my blood boiling and I was like, wow, this has been a really long time that I felt this angry. It's like you hit a nerve and it like sent me spiraling. I was so frustrated. And then you like respond back like, I don't understand. I'm just proposing something. And then you said something like, oh, why is it that I can't suggest something? Or I feel like I can't suggest something to you or my opinion to you because X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, eventually the text messages were going back and forward. And then I said to you, like, look, I'm emotional. It's like I'm feeling it's that type of month, I think, because I'm like angry and then I want to cry at the same time. So something's definitely going on with me. So I have to just like preface this conversation or this argument with that
But
in
then
mind.
you did a mature thing.
I did the mature thing and I called you.
You did. I could have done the mature thing. I was trying to be a responsible driver, I guess, but
Maybe not really. You should be just calling me if you're driving.
that's actually a great point. Yeah. So I was just not being responsible or mature at all. But you did.
So then I called you, and it's funny because it started off pretty good, and then you repeated what you thought, which was, "Hey, I'm just proposing. Why can't you go to work out at nighttime, or like we'll get a babysitter, or like you're trying to give different options of what I could do." And then I got so mad all over again, and I said, "I'm so furious that that's the one thing that you would take from me."
We went back
is-
to furious. We went from furious.
maybe, yeah.
to
I don't know what I
frustrated.
said. I don't know
No,
what I
no.
said. Something like, I'm
I'm
just
just
so mad
kidding.
because I felt like you're trying to take something that I hold really dear to me, which is my workouts in the morning. It's my only hour by myself that I get to do. We have 4 kids, and so it's like, it's intense at home. And I feel like I don't have a lot of freedom to go and do what I need to do. And then you said something, and I was like, I feel like you're being controlling.
Mm-hmm. And before earlier I hit your touch point, or I said something that, was like the game operation. You guys remember that?
Yeah.
And you hit, so I hit that, and then you came on strong. And then when you said, you're being really controlling,
Yeah.
You hit my touch point, and then just,
I
explosions
knew it.
in the sky.
No, but this is the thing. Like, I knew that was a low blow. Like, it was like, okay, now you're close. I can pull this weapon out and I can like attack you where it hurts. But what was interesting, and this is what I feel like you're really good at, is you were so calm. It was almost chilling, to be honest, because you don't get angry and emotional and start yelling. You just stayed really calm, and you said, I don't even know what to do with that. If that's what you think, I'm doing, that's my intention behind all of this, then I don't even know what to say. Like, said something about those lines. Do you remember?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
And it felt like time stopped. And I felt like I could see myself outside of this conversation, this argument, and I could remember what I felt like when I first started dating you, and I was a little emotionally driven and would fly off the handle easily. And I remembered that feeling, and I had this thought, okay, I need to slow down this moment right now, because either I'm going to die on this hill and keep saying, yeah, you are controlling, and then come up with some reason why I think you're controlling, while I think I'm valid. And if I do that, what does that say about me? Because the moment you started using that voice, I started being terrified. Like, I don't want to become that person. I don't want to be that person that I once was, which would get like, I'm just going to win the fight. And I don't care what I say. I don't care what I do. I just want to win. And then I felt like God was like, don't go down that road. You have a moment and you have a choice. And it felt like everything slowed down. I could really feel it just de-escalate. And then I said, I'm sorry. That was really wrong. I should never have said that. I'm so sorry. And you go, okay. And then it became like a conversation after that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It was insane. I'm like, wow, one little thing, one miscommunication that like I had read your intentions wrong, or I didn't really listen to what you were saying about. Then we've talked about it since, like, okay, what does it mean to propose something? Because you're like, I'm never wanting to be controlling over you. And it's true, you're not that type of person. You don't tell me what to do, or you don't say you have to do it this way.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, that's not in your nature. But it did feel frustrating because it felt like you could have come up with so many reasons. Like I talked about it later. Like, you could have said, hey, I'm taking an L. I'm not getting the kids to school on time. Can you help me? I'm going to wake up earlier, or
I think we should go back.
Okay.
Because I think it's a really powerful moment of like talking about, because, we're talking about a fight, right? We're talking about conflict. We're talking about those touch points that you hit, and I think everybody can resonate with the fact that there's areas and relationships, or, when you're friendship, romantic, family, that you don't know a thing is an issue until it is. You don't know there's a touch point until you get emotional, or until you explode, or until you, whatever your trigger is.
Yeah.
So I think everybody can relate to that, but I think what's really powerful and important is going the breakthrough and the identification in the midst of it. Like, how do you help people de-escalate a fight, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
to go so it doesn't become a knock him out, drag him out,
Mm-hmm.
or something that lingers for days, weeks, months. Because yeah, even as you said, like I feel like we went 0 to 100, and then we went like 100 to 20,
Yeah.
and then we could have that conversation. So I think that would be helpful to, rather than so much so the details of of why I said this or you said this, or I think it's how do we help people identify the pathway out.
Yes. That's good.
How do we help people find the de-escalation, like those little tools, like the phone call. I think that was step one.
Mm-hmm.
Go, hey, if you're in the middle of a fight and if you're constantly missing each other and whatever, maybe you're not in the space to have a phone call, then maybe the practice is don't engage it until you're in the space to have the phone call.
Mm-hmm.
Don't, if you find yourself missing each other in the text,
Yeah.
don't just keep going, on as if you're like getting on the same page.
Yeah, but we're clearly we were not.
Yeah, like who's the one that's going to take a breath and go, okay, we're literally drifting further and further. The boats are passing.
Yeah.
So let's pause and grab the phone, make the phone call. I feel like that's even a practical.
Yeah, that's true.
Step is, so what was it that for you was like, okay, let me make a phone call. Let me shift the environment from text to call.
I mean, I think we say a lot like don't talk about personal, deep, meaningful things through text, like, or especially heated things. Like we always say in communication, just even like as a leader, when you're talking to volunteers, like you don't text those things, you call them.
Yep.
And so that thought came to my mind. I was like, dang, we're like going off in different shoots and we're missing each other completely. And I think because obviously we're married and we've known each other for so long, it's sometimes you think you can get away with text messages and then you'll figure it out later. But in this moment, I knew you're not understanding me. And so I have to call you so that we can resolve it, because I don't like this feeling. And I don't want to be left during the whole day feeling this way.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's just funny. Then I called you and then realized, oh, we're still on this different pages.
Yeah. Yeah. We're still on different pages, but now we're just audibly on different pages.
And then, yeah, I think.
So I think that's key.
Yeah.
Is one, being able to read and sense when, because it's not just about the text versus phone call, but it's about, I think there's something to changing the environment.
Yeah.
To where, yeah, if you're, even on a practical level, maybe if you, every time you're fighting with somebody in your life, it's always in the kitchen, right? Maybe you need to shift the environment and like, hey, let's go on a walk.
That's true.
Let's talk about this as we're moving, or if it seems like every time you pick up the kids at whatever this time, it just creates so much drama and conflict. Okay, let me shift it. Maybe you go pick up the kids today. I just think there's something to that even idea of changing the environment. Doing something different. On a practical level, that could be, hey, if you're in a fight with somebody and you're not moving forward, you're going sideways, maybe it's time to have a phone call. Maybe it's time to have a FaceTime. Maybe it's time just to show up at their door.
Yeah.
And go, we're just going to talk this out face to face.
Yeah, that's so true.
So yeah, some of you just got to shift the environment.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then in the phone call, in the conflict, we're still not exactly on the same page, right? We're still maybe fighting, not fighting for the win, but fighting to be understood.
Yes.
And I think maybe there's something interesting in that too, of like, if you're both just fighting the irony, if you're both fighting to be understood, the likely end result is no one feels understood.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting that, because I feel like normally you are sympathetic or empathetic and you do see things from my perspective. It was interesting that you were like clinging to, I'm not in the wrong here. I was only proposing and being open to a thought.
Sure. Yeah.
And I was saying, hey, you're like crossing over into like my only personal time that I feel like I have during the week. And I feel like you have a lot of freedom and I have less freedom. And I said to you, I was like, I'm happy to make those sacrifices because I'm the kid's mom. Like, of course I'll do that. I know you make so many sacrifices. I'm not even saying that.
Yeah.
But I have to make certain sacrifices being at home with the kids or with Rocky, our youngest. And so it's interesting that you weren't quick to pivot.
Yeah, because I think in that, again, it was the being understood or what was the touch point later.
Yeah.
Because and we've talked about it. The idea, at the end of the day, I think you even said it initially. I was like, if this was a proposal, this was a thought. If you say no, you say no. Like I have no problem folding in that sense. I think the touch point that was hitting me was and it got to it felt like, and it makes sense that when you use the phrase later, like don't control me, or it feels like you're trying to control me in this. That was okay, maybe that's why it was hitting such a touch point, because it was like, oh snap, I don't think I'm trying to be controlling. It was the when you feel like you're trying to do one thing but it's received completely different, you like feel like you have to no, I need you to understand that's not at all what I was saying. And that's how some of you can just get lost in the mess of, do you hear where I'm coming from? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know? And so, yeah, because at the end of the day, I would legitimately, and I'm always gonna, whatever you need, I'm gonna do everything I can to make your life easier.
Yeah. That's the thing, but it was so interesting because you said earlier off camera, you said,
if it's off camera, don't make it on camera.
You said like, oh, I didn't know that was sacred to you. And I was like, how could you not know that's sacred? I feel like I fight for that so much.
Yeah.
So
that's the male dilemma since the beginning of time. Is
you think so?
How could you not know ?
Yeah.
we're trying to discover the power of knowing.
Yeah.
But what I think it's a lifelong journey for a lot of us.
So I guess what I could have done differently is said, hey, that's the one thing I can't give up is the 6 a.m. I guess because it's interesting when you said, I proposed to you, that was a very open, let's just have discussion.
Yeah.
And I said, you could have come to me in so many different ways and said, hey, well, let's have a discussion. I'm losing at this. Can you help me? And then I could have proposed. There's a difference between you proposing for me to change to help you, rather than you just saying, I'm having a loss. Can you help me? And I propose some shifts and changes.
Wait, what do you mean by the proposing? I
So
feel like we're getting lost in the proposals.
Because you were like, it's not like you were being controlling per se, because you were like, I'm just having a conversation. But it's interesting that there's so many other ways you could have suggested a shift, which could have been on you to change. Like waking up earlier, so we're not stressed in the morning. Rather than the first thing that you propose to get a win is for me to change.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's where it hit the point. Like, why is this on me to change my schedule for this when I'm happy to come to you? I'm happy to like brainstorm some ideas.
Except that one.
No, but I can brainstorm, like I can leave a little bit earlier or 5 minutes earlier, or I can do snacks in the morning. Like there's so many other ways. Yes, it's true that I was unwilling to give up that because I knew it was a fight for me to get to the gym in the first place.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting. So you're like, oh, my personality is, I'm just proposing. I'm putting it out there in the middle to discuss. It was just me that was frustrated that the one thing you're asking me.
Why are you smiling?
Yeah, I just think it's just interesting that.
You got to bring the people into the and the subtlety. Something
I feel like I'm
got you
pulling up.
giggly.
I'm pulling up the. It's like I'm trying to win the fight again, and I don't mean to be trying to win the fight.
Was that your inner world talking to your
Yeah,
to your outer world?
like why you're like, and my personality is, I just want to propose something, and my personality is like, well, just say what the situation is, and then let me come to the table with options and ways I can sacrifice to help this, so that we can get a win, so that we can work as a team.
Mm-hmm. So then, how did we get to the win in the conversation? Right? I feel like another great practical, giving people tools to win the fight.
Yeah.
You know, and when I mean win the fight, it's that as a couple you win.
Yeah, that's true. Well, one thing is, I think, not doing the low blows.
Interesting. Mm-hmm.
Because how I'm talking about it now is much more thought out than me just saying you're controlling. That was a quick, I didn't even know that I was doing it, but if I think about it, I'm like, I knew that was a soft, like a point in you, a trigger.
Sure. Yeah.
And it was a low blow because I was attacking your character, which is unfair.
Interesting. Yeah. So in fights and conflict and touch points, maybe it's like setting up rules of engagement, where you know, as best you can, try not to attack the person's character.
Yes.
Well, because why is that important? You know, why is it? Because, you know, I feel like some people, everybody has their different struggle, right? Or the different triggers. Some people, you fly off, you know, on a handle super quick, or I don't know, that messed up that phrase, whatever, but you're hot tempered and you blow up. Other people are more reserved, right? You're like a long fuse. It's like nothing, and then explode, right?
Yeah.
So everybody comes to
which is funny because I think that's exactly a description of you and me.
Yeah.
That I'm quicker to be like 0 to 100, and you're the one that's the long fuse.
Yeah.
And I think back in the day when we first started dating, I was like always quick to be just explode, but it was very dangerous, and I was about to destroy what we had. And it just makes me think about like the one time that I was about to lose it.
Which one? I know there's so many, but which one?
When we were doing
I was such a great boyfriend.
No, you were. You're great. That we were having a fight, and we were about to go into premarital, and I had a cup in my hand.
Oh, the cup. Yes.
And I was so mad at you for some reason, and I was about to throw this cup of water into your face. I mean, it sounds terrible now I think about it. And I looked at the cup and I looked at you, and I was like, oh my God, I just want to I'm just so mad at you. And then you looked at me, and then I just stopped. I held on to that cup with like my life. And I felt like I could hear God say, if you throw this because you're angry, you're going to destroy like the one beautiful thing that you have in your life. Like you're going to self-sabotage this. And luckily I had that self-control just to like hold on to the cup. And then you said to me later, were you going to throw that water in my face? And I said, yes. And you said, interesting. I don't think you really said anything else other than that, but I was like.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was in that moment or in later conversations. Yeah, you asking, like, yeah, why was that moment so big, or would it have been so destructive? Yeah. And I was like, I don't know if I would have been able to continue in the relationship based on, because it's not really about the water, it's about the disrespect.
Yes.
You know, and you can't be with somebody that you feel like doesn't respect you.
Yeah.
You know,
geez.
would be willing to do that. And
my
I mean,
heart's breaking.
Why? We're already past it. But the important, your heart shouldn't break because your heart should celebrate because it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen because, and it could have, but you were the one that took control of the situation rather than letting your emotions control you.
Yeah.
And, you know, and you have to have those moments. Like, and this thing with relationships, relationships are never forged absence. The relationships are never formed absent of the tension,
Yeah.
the struggle, the conflict.
Yeah.
It's always forged through it.
Yeah.
When you have the choice to throw the cup of water in their face and feel justified
Yeah.
and feel right and
Yeah.
feel they deserve it, and you just eat it.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing to do sometimes, just to eat it.
Yeah.
Because not only are you eating the endorphins that you could get from that moment, right? Even if it's fleeting, we do it because of what it does inside of us, and you feel right, justified, the satisfaction. But not only do you eat that, is when you do, you eat the pride, and you eat the ego, and you eat the dysfunction.
Yeah.
And we don't realize that that's the material that God uses to birth humility and generosity and kindness and love and self-control.
Yeah.
That's even the scriptures are interesting. There's, when it talks about the fruit of the Spirit, one of my favorite passages in all the scriptures, it's like the evidence that God's Spirit is working in your life. And you have all these really beautiful ones that are love, patience, right? Kindness, all these everybody wants these attributes. I'm not going to get into all of them, but the last one is really special. It says self-control. And you think, what would self-control and love be in the same universe, except for maybe self-control is an act of love. That when you can have mastery over the darkness inside of you, it creates a space for love to truly reside.
Yeah, that's good.
For the best parts of us to get out. And sometimes they don't. The best parts of us don't get out until we wrestle with them.
Wow.
On the inside.
So how did you get like that? Because I felt like I met you and you were so calm. You didn't have those triggers where you would you don't fly off the handle, first of all.
Fly off the handle. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah. You're welcome. That's because I've done it that I noticed the phrase. So how did you get to that place where you are so calm under pressure and you're calm in an argument and you don't get emotional? Because it could have been a crazy fight if you, after I said control, you could have just, but you don't. So how did you get to be like that? Or have such self-control?
I think some of it is, I don't know, just born that way. I remember even as a kid, just never got too high. Maybe it's environmental. One, my dad is pretty chill,
very calm,
and calm and kind. That's in his nature. And then my brother, my mom, also kind and calm as well, but in a different way. There's elements to them that are calm and kind, but there's other elements to them that are fiery and fly off the handle, and they would have knock them out, drag them out fights.
Yeah.
And I think just environmentally, I just saw the volatility. I don't know. I can't talk today.
Yeah,
volatility of the high emotions.
Yeah.
Because they fight really hard and then they love really hard.
Yeah.
And now that they're both older and mature, they have a way better relationship and stronger relationship, but they had to learn how to not fight. So I think some of that was, I didn't want to have that type of explosions.
Yeah.
I played sports a lot, and I saw really talented guys that I knew were better than me, but were wasting their talent because they couldn't control when they missed a shot, or when the ref made a bad call, or when they had a bad game. That's why I love sports, is because it reveals in all these different environments and arena, you get to see who you truly are. You get to identify characteristics in other people as well. And I just had always been the type of person where I'm I'm an observer. I love to watch, I love to listen, and I need to, in a pendulum swing, I probably need a little bit more fiery. You need a little less fiery sometimes. I need a little more fiery sometimes. And that's the beauty, I think, how God works in different people. But I do know early on, I just had a value for not letting that darkness consume me from the inside out.
Yeah.
And just, I wanted and had a high value for kindness. That's always been it's in our family. We talk about kindness is a superpower.
Mm-hmm.
And that when our kids' teachers tell us that they're doing a great job academically, that's amazing. When they're like creatively, really creating, doing unique things, and teachers are inspired by that, that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
When they're talking about their social and emotional health growing, I love that. But the thing that is a marker for us, whether we're really doing a great job with our kids, is when our teachers will say, I love how kind your kids are.
Yeah, I agree.
I love that they know how, when other people are in their class are egging kids on, or like it's shifting to maybe some bullying, they're always the anchor force.
Mm-hmm.
That it's their presence and their kindness that brings people back to health.
Mm-hmm.
I love the power of kindness, because I think it's something that we don't tap into a lot.
Yeah.
And we're trying to reestablish a culture of kindness.
Which is interesting, because like in the conflict, you don't ever get unkind.
Try not to. Yeah.
I don't think you've ever been unkind to me.
Mm.
So it's like you could be heated, you could have your stance that I may not agree with, but you've never said words to me that demean me or disrespected me or were unkind.
Mm.
And that is interesting. And I think
that's very intentional.
Yeah.
No, I love that you brought that up, and I appreciate that, because that is a ethic,
Yeah.
and a core value for me and for us.
For us, yeah.
Is because I think so often we jeopardize and we undercut relationships and people we love by the words that we say, and the things that we say. And so for me, I always want to make sure that even if we didn't agree, even if we're on opposite ends of the spectrum, at least you can say, you led with kindness and understanding. Because I think that's actually a huge disconnect we have a lot with discourse right now in culture, is that we don't have conversations rooted in kindness.
Yeah.
It's actually rooted in anger and distrust. It's really mean. We're really mean to each other when we don't agree.
Yeah, that's so true.
And it doesn't have to be that way.
One thing that I just really clicked on is when you said, going back to the throwing the cup of water in your face, you said, like, I didn't want to be in a relationship where like you disrespected me. And I think that's where it comes down to, is that I had to learn how to respect you, because in turn I had to learn how to respect me.
Mm.
And I think without me realizing it, how dysfunctional I was, that I was actually, if I belittled you in any way, it was actually belittling me.
Mm.
And I had a lower self-esteem. And because I had a low self-esteem, then I was kind of trying to pull you down.
Mm. Yeah, that's interesting.
And that's a scary thing to say, okay, if you're feeling insecure, instead of facing your own dysfunction or like lack of something, then I'm going to be in a relationship with you who's stronger, and I'm going to try to cut you down so that I don't feel so bad.
Mm. It's the emotional tall poppy syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Becca's a Kiwi from New Zealand. And
yeah.
It's a really interesting cultural phenomenon called tall poppy. You want to talk about it?
Yeah, that if someone gets too high, then we cut them down. Because we're like, whoa, don't dream too big. Oh, that's too big. And then we cut it down. And so we want everyone to be at the same level and no one to go too far ahead.
And yeah, that's an interesting thought, that we could do that in relationships as well.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a scary thought that I could have done that, yeah.
And that's why that never works, because in relationships, we're never supposed to come down to the same level. We're always supposed to elevate to the same level.
And that's the thing, is that I'm so grateful, and I know that I'm so grateful that I could trust God, fall in love with God before coming to LA. And so that when I met you, even though I wasn't in a very, like I was healthy, but not the healthiest.
Mm.
So then having God guide me through our relationship is what was really helpful.
Mm.
Because in those moments, you were setting the bar up here and I was down here. And so then it meant I had a choice to make. It's like, either I'm just going to do what I think I want to do, but destroy us, and then eventually push you away and sabotage it. And then you would have just said, okay, I'm done. Or I meet you where you're at and learn how to have more self-control.
Mm.
And I remember even when we first got married and we had a fight, and you were saying to me, like, one thing, don't slam doors. Like, don't run away and slam doors. And so we're having a fight. We're like newly married. We're living in a studio apartment.
That's right. 400 square foot.
Yeah.
Let's go LA.
A tiny
Heart of
place.
Hollywood. I missed that rent though, man. That was so cheap.
I don't miss that place. So I don't care.
I don't miss the place. I missed that rent check. Oh, not even a comma. It was so cheap. Sorry,
No.
continue.
So then we had a fight, and then I went to the bathroom and like through the closet, because that's the only door I had.
Mm-hmm.
And I slammed the door, and then I'm on the other side of it thinking like, oh, he's going to come after me, or he's going to like apologize. You don't say a word. And then I just stood there. I was like, okay, so I have two options. Either I stick to my guns and I feel like an idiot because I'm standing in a closet, or I go back out there and I apologize and I say, I'm sorry, I was wrong.
Mm.
And I felt like God was like, this is like, you have a choice. And are you really going to fight for self-control? Because this is the moment.
Mm.
And so I walked back into the bedroom, and I felt so small and so foolish and so like, I feel so silly, you know?
Mm.
And I went to you and I said, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry for slamming the door. I'm sorry for walking away. And then the sweetest thing is that you were like, it's okay. I was like, oh, that's it? And you're like, yeah. So you never made me feel ashamed for doing it. You were so kind and forgiving and made me see that even though I did fly off the handle, the fact that I came back and owned it is the important part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that's a beautiful thing. Is like, okay, if you do these things and you know like you're not there yet, like what you mentioned before, if you can just, it's okay because it's going to help you forge you to become something better. And I loved that in our relationship. I felt like you were always fighting for my best self, and you knew who I was going to become.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, you became it, not me. So
yes, but you believed in it.
Yeah, because that's what we do together. We always believe in the best in each other. And I think that's what's allowed us to build the life that we have now and the life that we're continuing to build. It's because the baseline is always we will believe the best in each other, and we will help the best in each other be unleashed.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean we avoid conflict. It doesn't mean we avoid the struggle, because the baseline is a commitment to the core of each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's how you're able to really last through the hard times. You know, where I wonder, in some relationships where people have a hard time getting out of it is because the baseline is I actually know who you are at your core and I don't like it.
Wow.
Like my hope is that I can change this about you, as opposed to, no, I actually see the beauty in you, and then my job is just to create the right environment to let that beauty come to light.
Okay, so how did you like see it even when I was not at my best?
Because you had the viewpoint that I'm not at my best. I just don't even use that language of, you know, this was you at your worst, or in a bad moment, you know, this is who you truly are, because I hope people wouldn't see that about me either.
Yeah.
I have so many bad moments, and I have so many hangups and so many faults. But I'm so thankful that the people closest to me, the people that are for me, they don't focus on the fault.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's a healthy mindset and framework that we have when we are understand who we truly are, who we are created to be, and that there's goodness, that we start with goodness.
Mm-hmm.
And the beautiful relationships in life are the ones that just weed out the darkness that finds its way in.
Yeah.
That weed out the unhealth, you know. But you don't focus on the unhealth. That's the thing. The way you get healthy isn't that you focus on what's unhealthy.
Hmm.
The way you get healthy is that you focus on the good things, and the more you feed the good things, the more fruit that you'll experience, the more
That's
life, you know. So yeah, I didn't see you as a project that I had to fix, and hoped you didn't see me as a project you
No.
needed to fix. It was no. What are the things that we're naturally drawn to and connected to? What are the things you fall in love with, and that you can't imagine what it's going to look like tenfold
Yeah.
for the rest of your life? And that's what you say yes to,
Yeah.
of what we can create together. Feels like a good place to end.
Yeah. Wow. It was really good.
I love you. Thanks for not giving up on me.
Thanks for not giving up on me.
And we fight through the hard to get to the good,
Yeah.
you know? And maybe that's what somebody needed to hear today. Maybe there's somebody that was really struggling to find the good.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. The good is always there. You don't have to inject the good.
Yeah.
You just have to help unleash the good.
I think also, and I know this may be needing something else, but in an argument, I feel like there has to be someone who's brave enough to go first, to either what you were saying earlier at the beginning, to shift the environment, or to go first in apologizing, or first to see, hey, I think we're not really fighting about, like, we think we're fighting about this small thing, but then it starts to get bigger and you don't know why, because there's so many other things that's actually at play.
Yeah.
Like, I think when you take a step back, okay, I'm being emotional, not because of just that you proposed something, but because I was having a tough week, that I had our son Indy was sick at home. So I was stuck at home. I felt like I had no freedom. Like, it was way more that was happening in my life that I hadn't even expressed to you really. And so when you said that, it ignited all of it. So I think having someone to go, hold up, are we really fighting about this little thing, or is there something deeper? And let me see, like, what's the deeper thing? Like, how are you, and what can I do to help? Because now we're getting emotional. Now we're saying hurtful things, and we don't mean it. So let's, like, take a step back and reassess the situation, because in the end, like, this fight isn't worth me losing you, or losing your respect, or you losing my respect. Like, in the end, I love you. And so I always want to, like you said, inject good into it. So.
Yeah. It's great. We made it. We
did.
arrived. Until the next one, America.
Yeah, exactly. In the next fight.
But the cool thing about, I feel like, in the maturity in fights and conflict, and maybe kind of putting a bow on this, is like, how do you get there quicker?
That's good.
And that's a sign of health in relationships, is that things don't linger.
Yeah.
And celebrating the progress, you know, in our fights early on, maybe what used to take 2 weeks, you know, eventually took 1 week.
Yeah.
And then eventually took 4 days. And then eventually took 2 days. And now, you know, hopefully it takes 2 hours.
Yeah.
You know, when we're at our best, when we're not crushing it, which is going to be a reality sometimes, right? Maybe it lingers longer, but being able to catch it quicker.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually a great practice in resolving conflict, in getting on the other side of it, getting stronger, right? Do you feel stronger in our relationship, right?
Yeah.
And that's the point of the conflict. That's the point of, like, pressing through in it, is so that on the other side you realize, okay, we went through this, and we didn't just win and feel heard and feel seen, but we actually came out stronger than we were before.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's how you don't waste it. And I think that's been our commitment, is we don't want to We don't want to waste a moment because this is too important.
Mm-hmm.
So get there quicker. So, maybe you're listening to this right now and that thing that you've been holding on to and that you've been punishing the other person, or you've been sabotaging, or you've been waiting for them to finally get you. Maybe just take a deep breath, swallow it, eat it. That feeling and that endorphin that you want desperately to just explode in your brain, and just make that phone call and you initiate and say, I'm sorry. Because the moment it's like crazy how 2 words, I'm sorry, can be like a magnet that brings souls back together. So don't win the argument, win the person.
It's good.
Sign us off.
Thank you for listening. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube. We should
subscribe. Yeah. Like, do all those things.
Send this to someone who you think needs this.
It's good.
Because I feel like we all face conflict, and we all need reminders of how to get back to the good. So send it to your friends, send it to your partner, and I hope you have the best week. We love you guys.
We'll see you next time.